As we speak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is lunching with US Vice President Joe Biden and Secretary of State John Kerry. In a short while from now, there will also be a State Department, US State Department press conference where we will get much more information about the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the US President. Meanwhile, India's External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Syed Akbaruddin has spoken as well, providing some information. Take a look.
On what we have. So that's the base on which the two leaders interacted, and what I will request now is that Vikram will take you through those outcomes and he will take you through the clusters. We have about 20 minutes, so he will speak for about 10 minutes and we will respond to any questions that you may have for another 10 or 15 minutes before we have to leave. If that is alright, I will request Vikram to make his opening remarks, following which the floor will be open for any questions that you may want. Vikram.
Thank you very much. Very briefly, the spokesperson has already set out the larger context of the conversation. I think the overall approach to this was to look at the visit as the Prime Minister has described, and as you see in the vision statement also issued, as a partnership that is not really in transactional terms, in other words, not stuff that India can do for the US and the US can do for India, but building on that to be something in which both India and the US can do something together for the world. So the conversations were held in that spirit, and I think there was a great deal of, if I use the word correctly, I think there was a great deal of understanding of the interest and challenges that India has faced and that India is facing in its developmental path, and a great deal of interest in the United States in ways in which it can helpfully partner India in meeting its developmental objectives. So this included the economic piece, the infrastructure, urban infrastructure piece, it included the defense and security piece, and it included a larger, shall I say, social and sort of people's piece. What I'll try and do is quickly run through some of these outcomes that you will find in the joint statement as soon as it's issued, which will give you a sense of
we will let you know when it's ready. It will take perhaps an hour or maybe 2 hours.
Maximum. We're just fine-tuning some of the but it's all in place. The limits are all okay. So if I can just quickly run through these in various buckets in my mind. There's an infrastructure, economics and trade bucket, which I'm just selecting some of the highlights that will certainly will appeal to Indian audience. US firms will be lead partners in developing 3 smart cities, or upgrading them as 3 smart cities: Allahabad, Ajmer and Visakhapatnam. Partnership platform is being established with USA business and civil society, such as the Gates Foundation, for Indian municipal, state and union entities to leverage private capacity for upgradation of water, sanitation and sewage in 500 cities to facilitate access to clean water and sanitation. An India-US investment initiative is being put together with the intention of serving as a clearing platform for all infrastructure investments from the United States and India. We email
much of it, so because otherwise we won't have time for other things. Let him go through it, we will email to you the outcomes.
Okay, because it's about 3 pages of bullet points. That means there's a lot. So, alright. So quickly, smart city partnership for Allahabad, Ajmer and Visakhapatnam. US firms will be lead partners in that. A platform for USA business and civil society to work with our cities and state governments in bringing water, sanitation and sewage improvements. It's called the WASH Alliance. WASH. Water and sanitation and health sewage funding. WASH. Some appropriate for all 500 cities that have been needed out for this purpose. An investment initiative which will essentially be run by the Department, the Ministry of Finance and the Treasury on this side to facilitate FDI, portfolio investment, capital market development and financing of infrastructure. A separate infrastructure platform which will serve the clearinghouse to facilitate American and Indian companies in expediting infrastructure projects in India. A manufacturing extension partnership which will enable the US National Institute the standards and technology to help small and medium enterprises in India build business plans, raise themselves to global standards, and to improve manufacturing capacity. It ties in with PM's Make in India initiative, basically. A partnership between the Reserve Bank, the US Fed, and the Office of the Comptroller of Currency in sharing information and regulation of financial institutions. This is basically, one, to upgrade capacity and regulation of financial institutions, and also two, to work together in cross-border banking arrangements. So, American banks in India, Indian banks in the US, so to improve that piece. Then we take a strategic bucket next. The President has affirmed that India meets the requirements for the missile technology control regime and is ready for membership in the nuclear supplies. The President affirmed that India meets the requirements for the missile technology control regime, which is MTCR, and is ready for membership in the nuclear supplies. We are creating an interagency contact group to address all implementation issues to speed up the deployment of US-origin nuclear reactors. So to speed up our SIMNUC partnership, we've created an interagency working group which will deal through all issues, including on liability, on administrative issues, and on technological and techno-commercial issues. We are renewing our framework agreement with India-US Defence Cooperation for further 10 years. The final text will be signed shortly as soon as it can be negotiated out the last full stop.
No, not today. This is separate.
Agreements are only signed by the two leaders, so this will be done separately, but we've agreed to go ahead on this. Our Defence Trade and Technology Initiative, we have decided to try and identify unique and transformative technologies and products, which will then be teed up in the next few months. A special task force is being set up between the two defense departments for this. The US has agreed to cooperate as the knowledge partner for India. The US has agreed to cooperate as the knowledge partner for India's planned National Defense University, so that will bring higher management of the defense forces on both sides into greater partnership. We've also agreed jointly to expand our trilateral partnerships with Afghanistan. Voice and that is the IMF and the bank. This is part of our standard expansion of trilateral partnerships in Afghanistan and among African partners, which is where India and the US work together in areas such as food security, agricultural training, women's empowerment. We're now going to expand the number of activities. The statement will be signed very shortly, in the next day or two, that will make way to the public. And countries in Africa. Earlier we had Liberia, Kenya, and Malawi. We will now look to expand to other partners. We will now take it up to clean energy, to health, and disaster preparedness as well. On security, we agreed to have joint and concerted efforts, including to seek the dismantling of safe havens for terrorist or criminal networks, and to disrupt the financial and tactical support for
briefing by the External Affairs Ministry spokespersons Syed Akbaruddin as well as Vikram Doraiswamy of the External Affairs Ministry, briefing the press there about some of the items discussed between President Obama and Prime Minister Modi. In just a short while from now, we will also have a live broadcast of the State Department briefing, where many more bits of information will be gleaned until that joint statement is formally issued. And we'll, of course, get you the full details of that first and exclusive here on Headlines Today on a non-stop broadcast between Delhi and Washington, where we've got Rajdeep Sardesai, Rahul Kaval, who will be joining us in a minute. Also, Gaurav Sawant, our editor of Strategic Affairs, who will be live with us with special guests to get you analysis and live breaking news of everything that you need to know and everything that's happening on the ground there in Washington, D.C. A fruitful and symbolic two-hour meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Obama, following which there was a short briefing where Prime Minister Modi listed out some of the big takeaways from those bilateral summit-level discussions between the two leaders of India and the United States. This was followed by a walk at the monument to Martin Luther King in Washington, D.C. In a short while from now, the State Department briefing will begin. I'm going to hand you over now to our managing editor, Rahul Kanwal, who's been at the U.S. State Department, the only Indian journalist to actually be broadcasting from there. Rahul, it's over to you. We understand that there will be a briefing a short while from now.
Absolutely, and I've got two very key voices. We're waiting for the US State Department briefing to begin in a short while from now, where we will get a first-hand account of what really transpired in the meeting between President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But till then, Narayan Lakshman, who reports for The Hindu, and Tejinder Singh, who's been working very closely with the India Today group, will give us a sense, and I'll start with you, Narayan, of how successful, in your view, today's bilateral meeting has been.
I would call it a successful visit from Mr. Modi's point out of the bilateral. Mr. Modi has mentioned the key points of concern for India that he considers top priorities. Among them, high up on the list was mentioned access for Indian companies, services companies to the US market. So too was mentioned the terrorism question in the South Asia context. So Mr. Modi is obviously aware that the US is very focused on Al-Qaeda, but now he wants to draw their attention, and Mr. Obama is very keen on the...
All right, we've got a bit of a transmission problem with that link with Rahul Kanwal, which we'll try and re-establish in just a moment from now. Rahul happens to be the only journalist broadcasting live from the US State Department, where there will be a briefing. He's got two journalists based in Washington, D.C. with him, who will be bringing back to you live in just a moment. The pictures on your screen are from a short while ago, when Prime Minister Modi and President Obama briefed the press on the big takeaways of their discussions. We've got Rahul back. Rahul, over to you.
I was asking the question about India not responding to Obama's call for joining the war against the ISIL. Is that a bit of a disappointment for the Obama administration? I certainly think it is. Mr. Obama has sought to very quickly build up credibility for this coalition, that he doesn't want to be seen as this is another US-led invasion into West Asia. But having said that, again, Mr. Modi is playing a careful game, because he wants to make sure that his points are addressed, and one of them is the TFA and concerns about food security. So that was also strongly mentioned, and it is, as my colleague here said earlier, a game of give and take. Okay, you're saying it's a game of take. Let's focus on trade and investment. To what extent, Tejinder, do you think America's concerns on trade and investment have been assuaged, given the fact that Modi announced that we will change our policy to make it easier for American companies to do business with India?
The trade and the trade policies, or the trade, there can be a lot of trade without having a big agreements. If you see where you interviewed some top CEOs after his breakfast, which people here are calling a power breakfast, and then individual meetings with CEOs. These CEOs are not under the US government. They will go to India if India welcomes them. They want red carpet, as Modi says, not red tape. So that's where the whole... That's the big difference between China, Japan and the United States, where in Japan, Shinzo Abe can commit to $35 billion of investment. The Chinese president can commit to $20 billion of investment. Here, salesman Modi has to reach out individually to each board, each CEO, and try and convince him. Yeah. And nowhere does that more apply than in the civilian nuclear sector, where I was really surprised to see the strength of the statement made by Mr. Modi, where he said, we will find a way to work this out. I'm paraphrasing, but that is the effect of his essence of his statement. But what could this way be, given the Nuclear Liabilities Act that exists in India, given American companies' concern on the Nuclear Liabilities Act that exists in the way that it does? Is an amendment on the cards in your view? I don't think there is an amendment on the cards. I think they're still going to try and work something out in terms of the regulations and rules, which would be a way to bypass the law. I think the constituencies which push for the Liability Act have dug their heels in, and it's not going to be an easy task changing. Let's focus on terrorism. 3 key operatives of the Lashkar-e-Taiba now put on a hit list by President Obama's administration. How much of a success do you think that is for India? I think it's definitely a success in terms of the very sort of consistent work that Ambassador Jaishankar, for example, does. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes intelligence sharing for counter-terrorism that goes on. I still think a sticking point, which we asked several times about but didn't get clear answers, was the question of David Coleman Headley. The NIA team did get access only once, and there has been multiple signals that we need more access to Mr. Headley to interrogate him further on the intel he has. But he's done this plea bargain
Washington with the US, which again, not many terms of which are clearly spelled out.
So in this case, America can claim that the matter is sub judice and there's nothing the Obama administration can do about it.
Yes, this is a very open democracy, and we here have, the courts have a free hand. So according to their, they decide what they decide. And when that plea bargain is being, not Department of Justice or Department of State, nobody can pressurize courts to do it like this or like that. Yes, they cannot release somebody who can be a threat to US security or international security. And one thing that needs to be really taken into account, that the declarations are there. You see these three people, but on counter-terrorism cooperation, there's a lot being
because
done.
one of the key announcements is that 3 key operatives of the Lashkar-e-Taiba have now been put on a hit list. Now, what does that mean from India's perspective, given the fact that there already is a bounty on Hafiz Saeed's head, and that doesn't seem to make an iota of a difference to Pakistan?
Yeah, I really don't think it certainly carries symbolic value, but in terms of actual, for example, counterterrorism operations or advantage that India can get from this, it's near negligible, because actually most of the focus is on freezing US assets of such persons, typically when you see such designations. I think the bigger challenge that Mr. Modi will face going forward in this regard is to, as I said last time, just get the Obama administration to link up the Al-Qaeda challenge to the LET and the Tehrik-e the Pakistani Taliban and other groups which are a terrific local threat to India. Mr. Modi has, it is believed that what his philosophy on this is security for those who are near, and maybe commerce and economic trade for those who are far. So if he wants Mr. Obama to play ball with him in that regard, he's going to have to make him change his mind a bit more.
Let's focus for a bit on the personal chemistry that developed between Modi and Obama. Tejinder, to you first. In all that you've heard from people that you've been speaking to in Washington, what's the sort of personal equation they've been able to build?
It was a clean slate, and there was this, hangover of visa denial. And one top official put it very nicely. He said, we did not deny visa to Mr. Narendra Modi. The visa was all about the Gujarat Chief Minister. And now the welcoming is to the Prime Minister of India, because repeatedly from this podium, the State Department spokesman had repeatedly answered my question that about Modi. They said whoever will be the Prime Minister of India will be welcome to the White House, to Washington DC. And instead of just, and also from this podium, when you ask them questions, the first thing, in case you ask them hypothetical questions, they say we don't talk about hypothetical situations. The second thing is, they do not talk about intelligence sharing or what is going on in the. If there is a decision is taken against like this, the 3 people, then they announce a statement about it. But the intelligence sharing, how the cooperation is taking place, what is going on behind the scenes about Headleys, we never know. They may not announce that they are going to give the 5-member team or 7-member team is flying in from India and meeting Headley. It may never come to the news.
Okay.
So there will be.
We've also seen over the past 24 hours, Mr. Lakshman, the Obama administration make a couple of significant symbolic gestures, accompanying Modi to the Martin Luther King Memorial, the Garba at the White House last night. Is that an attempt to try and just go the extra distance, given the past track record of having denied him a visa in the first place?
I think so, and I agree with what Tejinder said about, in a sense, it's a clean slate, but it comes with a lot of history as well. And, Mr. Obama's greeting Mr. Modi with saying, "Kem cho," and, this sort of a...
Are you brushing up your Gujarati?
I'm trying. Please bear with me. It's a long road, but I'm trying. And it's a sign of 2 very charismatic, powerful leaders in their own home countries trying to, for the first time, forge a bond. That's not an easy matter, and both of them seem fairly committed to it and aware that there are impediments to it. So, one thing that we in the Hindu, for example, we've highlighted is the number of protests that you've seen. Just today I was walking through Lafayette Park outside, and there were some protests happening there, as there were in New York as well. So there are frictions.
What does that mean? All those people who were there, Tejinder, doing a public indictment of Prime Minister Modi, I'm told, Shiv, that this briefing is about to start in a couple of minutes from now, so we need to just end this over here. Please, sir, you can pass, that's no problem. So we need to, Shiv, end this. The briefing, I'm told, will start in a couple of moments from now, and we will bring you the live feed once the briefing starts.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shiv, take it away, please.
And you, Rahul, thanks for. We'll let you go for just a moment. We'll come back to you for that State Department briefing once it begins. And as you said, we'll be carrying all of that live and exclusive here on Headlines Today.